All right, welcome everyone to Youngstown Studio. Our guest today is a legend of the Youngstown music scene, having gotten his start some 4 decades ago. Alongside guitarist Pete Revere, bassist John Lumick, and drummer John Corey, he shared the stage and/or toured with the Dead Boys, the Ramones, Cheap Trick, and Collective Soul, to name just a few. His band is back with their first album in 22 years, titled Never Forever. It's out now. They will be playing a record release show, a record celebration show, this Saturday at West Side Bowl here in Youngstown, along with the Jelly Bricks. Please welcome from the Infidels, singer, songwriter, and guitarist, David Lisko. Mr. Lisko, how are you?
I'm well, Mr. Lisko. How are you?
Good, man. So yeah, let's get to that right now. So you and I are of no relation, but I'm sure you get asked I get asked all the time if I'm related to you. Like, I mean, it's like, oh, you're related to Dave. I was like, no, actually not, which is weird, man, because like Lisko's not a very common last name around the Youngstown area. So yeah, I get that pretty consistently.
Yeah, and same, and like, not even is it just asked, it's assumed. Like, oh, you and BJ, were you guys cousins? Or I'm like, no, we're not related at all. And people always think I'm lying about it, but it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it is. Yeah, it's. Especially when you guys start playing shows and stuff around again, that's when I get it a lot too. Like when you guys come back and do stuff, it's like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, no, we're actually not. But but no, man, but I understand why people make that jump. So yeah, man. So let's get into the new album here. Why was now sort of the right time for a new Infidels record, and what kind of led to the long gap between releases?
Yeah, a lot of things, BJ. So why now? We've actually been working on this record for a really long time, and a lot of factors kind of came into play as to why it took so long. COVID was one of those things. It just kind of put a stop to a lot of getting together, obviously. I live in New York. A lot of the other guys are still in the Youngstown-ish area, so to get together and go through stuff, and we're perfectionists. We've always been a band who has a song idea, we all write, but then you get together and you work on it, and rearrange it, and everyone adds their pieces to it. So it's always been very important to us to get together in person. So that was a bit difficult. Pete had Amprion, and that ended up moving, so that put a delay on something. So just lots of factors, and I think too, I don't want to say we're perfectionists, but we really do put a lot of time and care into how these songs sound. And sometimes you could say, well, you're just making it different, not better. But in the case of these songs, I think a lot of them were made better either through adding another part or getting new equipment that adds a certain tone to it. Like, so there were lots of reasons why I think it took a while to get here, but I'm glad it did, and I'm excited for the record.
Yeah, nice, man. What's the writing dynamic like in the Infidels? Because all 4 of you guys write. Does that present any kind of challenges when it comes time to sort of pare down stuff for a new record?
Yeah, so we all have our own version of a recording studio, be it a home studio or Pete has, the big studio, some sort of way to make a demo of songs. And I think that we've all written a lot of songs. And in fact, I'll tell you, since 2020, I've written probably 150 songs, and half of them are terrible. Some of them are, I'm going to try to write a song on a lap steel guitar. I shouldn't be doing that, or write this in 5/4 time. Yeah. But we all do a lot of writing, and we share those songs with each other, and everyone goes, oh, I really like these. They fit the band. I could see where this might go. So that's usually the process. We sort of sift through, these are the songs that sound cohesive. And typically, if you write it, you sing it. So it gives the album a different flavor. We all grew up with the same influences: Beatles, Stones, Zeppelin, punk rock. But I think that in time, that's changed a little bit from other things we listen to. So it's still the same band, but the writers are all very different from each other. So to me, it adds a nice color throughout the record. Hopefully people would agree.
Yeah, I mean, talk a little bit about sort of the influences that you guys have. I mean, how have those kind of evolved over the years? Because I mean, I've heard different sort of aspects, different sort of things kind of come into, the Infidels music over the years. It's sort of all under the umbrella of sort of kind of power pop and just sort of catchy rock songs. But yeah, kind of describe how the inspirations for you guys have changed over the years.
Yeah, I think that we're still all very deeply rooted in that Stones, Zeppelin kind of thought. But, we started out as a 3-chord garage band and developed our musicianship and our songwriting to be more that power pop band that we became. And I think this is just the next evolution of it. There's a bit of Americana put into it. Like some people love Tom Petty or Neil Young. I'm a big fan of Radiohead, and I like Queens of the Stone Age. So not that those things necessarily influence your writing, but to me, like my writing is still more based in that rock, and someone else might have a little bit more of a country feel to it or Americana feel. And I think it's just from experiences in life and things you listen to and things that sort of move you at the time.
How would you say that Youngstown and sort of the Mahoning Valley has had an influence on the band's sort of sound and also sort of work ethic?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. Both those things are very true. I think on the work ethic, we all grew up blue collar, put the time in, work hard, and I think that was instilled in each of us to put in the effort. And man, we would always like grind it out and practice and work through these songs and keep rewriting them and keep reworking them. And that's a very Youngstown thing, I think, to like have that grit and that work ethic. As far as how it shaped the sound, you mentioned we played with the Dead Boys, who were a Cleveland band. I think that sort of Midwestern power pop has kind of run through our veins forever. The Cheap Tricks and Matthew Sweets and bands like even OK Go, who are a newer band. I think that Youngstown Midwestern sound has always been a driving factor for us.
Talking about you mentioned touring, with the Dead Boys. What are some of the most kind of memorable touring stories that you have from the Infidels, sort of during the heyday of you guys being on the road back in the '80s?
No, I can't share many of those with you, but no, like one thing that like comes to mind immediately. I remember we played at the Ritz with them in New York City, and that used to be Studio 54 before it turned into the Ritz, and just the history of that place. And I can remember like the dressing rooms were on a second level, and kind of like looking through the curtain at the crowd and thinking, oh man, like we're these 4 kids from Youngstown and we're here in New York City about to play in front of maybe 2,000 people. And it was a bit of a, what am I doing here? Kind of moment. But as soon as the curtain went up, we'd done it so many times and done it so many times together. And as you said earlier, that work you put into it, it felt very natural. And that was one of our best shows, I think, at that time. So, but it was great. I'll tell you, Stiv Baders is the one who really taught me how to do laundry, believe it or not. So, we were kids, we were young, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do. And I'll never forget with this laundromat. And he's like, oh, separate your whites from your colors. I'm like, okay, thanks. So strange story, but that's how, I really learned how to do laundries through Stiv.
I have a weird laundry story from being out on the road for a little bit in the early 2000s, whatever. So I learned that like if there wasn't like a laundromat sort of available or whatever, like I had guys taught me like no, like get into the shower fully clothed and like have it. It's like the water it's in strip in the shower, and so then as you're washing, then the soap whatever hits the clothes, and then you hang the clothes whatever. So we did that a couple of times in a pinch when we couldn't get to whatever, kind of gross. And then the other rule was never bring socks on tour. You buy burner socks, right? So you go to the dollar store, you buy a bunch of packs of brand new socks, and then you just throw them away. So you because you don't want sticky socks in the van,
That's so true. That is so true. Yes.
100%, man. Well, so I want to get into a couple specific songs, kind of off the new record. And let's start with the most recent sort of video release, and it's the kickoff track of the album. When the clock strikes 12. What's the story behind that one? How'd that one kind of come together?
So it's a bit of a sad story, but it's a nice sad story. My mom and I were very close. I'm one of 6 kids, so I am related to a lot of Liskos. So my mom and I were very close, and she lived to be 92. And toward the end of her life, we had a lot of really good talks. She was still very sharp, and her wits were about her. And just talk about how important it is to enjoy life while you are here. And make the most of it, and be smart so that you can enjoy your later years. But to really make sure you take time to enjoy things and have fun. And when she passed, someone said to my sister, be gentle with yourself through this. And I thought what a beautiful thought that is, to be gentle with ourselves, because we're always often so hard on ourselves. So the idea was, my mom kind of like really instilling again, it's important to live life, be kind to people, enjoy yourself, be good. And then, when people do pass, just sort of give yourself some grace. And that's where it came from. So we never know how long we're going to be here when the clock strikes 12. But, make sure before it hits 12, you do everything you can to be the best person you can be. That's kind of the inspiration behind it.
I got you. Yeah. I dig that song a lot. I like the sort of the driving kind of guitar riff. It reminded me a little bit of the Cult, a little bit, the sort of that guitar riff. Not that it's whatever, but I like, just a really good summation of sort of the Infidels sound. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of like it's another one of those tracks that I like. If somebody asked me, well, where to start with you guys, that would be one that I would send them kind of right away, because it really does kind of encompass everything kind of great about the band.
Yeah, thanks. And I think it stays true to us long term as well. I think, to your point, that is a good starting place. If you wonder what our sound is, that probably captures it pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Well, next one I want to take up as another one that you put out a video for here, Evil Change of Season. What's sort of the story behind that? How'd that one come about?
So we recorded that song in 1985 or 86. So our very first record was called Infidels ×4 that we put together here in the States, and it was breakneck speed. Like, that song, if you heard the original version, is so incredibly fast. And as we got older, we got better as writers and sort of calmed down a little bit. Not everything had to be a million miles an hour. And always thought that was such a good song. Like, we always really liked it, and felt like that initial version didn't capture the essence of it well. So we talked about redoing it, and I'm so glad we did, because I love the version. I mean, I appreciate the version because it's a good song from many years ago, but I love the version that's on Never Forever, because to me it's the right tempo and it's the right feel.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Well, one more I want to hit here is I think another one that you had a quite a hand in is Something Else Tonight. What's the story behind that one?
Yeah, it's about just people who can be judgmental. And let everyone should be able to be themselves, to me, accept people for who they are and be kind to everybody. And you get people who will be judgmental, or, they'll pick you apart, but they never sort of reflect on themselves. So the idea started with the chorus, like, that's really something, but I want something else tonight. So off you go.
I got you, man. I got you. Well, so, I read it, and I think you mentioned too, you guys are pretty prolific writers as far as the sort of the ideas and stuff. So kind of, what would you, do you, I don't foresee the gap, I guess, maybe in this album, in the next album, or future records or future releases being quite as long as this last one was. But yeah, what is next kind of for the Infidels after this? So, in the next, obviously you're going to do the show and support this record a little bit, but over the course of the next, year or two, kind of where do you see you guys at?
Yeah, if we wait another 23 years, I'll be 140 years old then. So no, and we do have a lot of stuff written, all of us do. And again, BJ, I certainly can foresee us doing another record sooner than later. Again, it comes down to getting together, working through those songs. And that's always the part, because everyone's life is busy. We're all doing a million different things. We don't all live in the same town, but the interest is there. The songs are there. And we're like brothers. Like, we really do enjoy each other after all these years, get along great. They're three of my very closest friends. So we'll do some shows. We'll promote this record. And I would love to get back into the studio sooner than later to start working on something else.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, everybody, once again, the Infidels, the new record is called Never Forever. The record release show is this Saturday, October 11th at Westside Bowl in Youngstown, with the Jelly Bricks, who are also on. We played with them earlier this summer. They sounded great as always as well too. But yeah, man, Dave, thank you so much for the time, man. Congrats on the new record, man. And we'll catch you Saturday.
Sounds great, BJ. Thanks for having me, and I really appreciate your time doing this, and hopefully we'll get a lot of people down there and we'll have a good time Saturday.